All right, Shalom. This is Harawan by Yasha Allah of the GMS Lions Den Camp. I want to say Kal Halayim, La Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Harakak Kodash, Mahamath. Double honor to the elder apostles of GMS and the elders. Shalom to you, Akim, and Agwatim and children that believe in sincerity and truth around the four corners of the earth. I want to go into this topic dealing with, Daniel's deliverance. And the faith that we have to have, the same way Daniel had faith, right? In the same way, I did a lesson on Jeremiah's deliverance out of Babylon a couple of days ago. But I want to go into, you had Jeremiah. His name is Jeremiah, which means to be appointed or chosen, right? Or to rise. Now you have Daniel is the next one I want to get into, all right? Because the Lord brought a judgment upon Babylon, the same way he's going to bring a judgment upon this Babylon. Now you have the book of Daniel, which the book of Daniel is basically a chronicle of the Most High, Yahweh sending Yahweh Shai, his angel, his son, and other angels to set up, the beginning of our downfall, all the way up to 70 AD, from Babylon to 70 AD, all the way up to America. All right. So that's when the Lord, came down and mixed everything up. Now you have the first part of Daniel from chapter 1 all the way to chapter 3, which speaks about Nebuchadnezzar. All right, Nebuchadnezzar. All right, the experience that Nebuchadnezzar had when he experienced our power, our Creator, man, and they wrote steels and chronicles, all right, about it, and scrolls about their experience with our Creator, man, our God, Yahweh. All right, and they gave in because you can look up their cylinders or their steels, which is what they write on, like they chronicalized everything in the history, like the Assyrians and the Babylonians, the Chaldeans, and the Egyptians, and the Persians and the Medes. All right, this is their history, and in their history, they gave praise to their idols, and the time of what was called the birth of the idols. That's when the Syrians was pushing forward their idols, the Chaldeans, the Canaanites, our own people was coming up with their own idols and doing wicked worship spoken of in the book of Ezekiel, when the Lord sent them through small holes in the wall to go catch the high priest of Israel, of Judah, praising idol gods, man, idols and shit, which are no gods at all. All right. So even today, our people are doing the same wickedness, man, same abominations in the sight of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, and the worshiping of idols, homosexuality, corruption of the doctrine, corruption of the Lord's ways, corrupting their own body, piercings, and abominable foods, and so on and so on. Adultery, spiritual adultery, and physical adultery. All right, and these are the things that have corrupted our people, and the children of Israel have taken on the customs of these nations and have become even greater in wickedness than these nations. All right, so the first part of Daniel, you have the experience of Yahweh intervening with Nebuchadnezzar. All right, Nebuchadnezzar II, the son of Nebuchadnezzar, that started ruling in 605 BC. And he was the one that came into Babylon around 586. So the experience that Daniel was speaking of, and Ezekiel, they were all in Jeremiah. They were all experiencing the approach and invasion and the captivity under the Babylonian Empire and the deliverance within that. All right, as the known world at that time was given to the Chaldeans or the Assyrians, if you want to call them that. All right, these were Assyrians that took on Chaldean customs, the Magi's. So I'm gonna get into that, because you have the first half, and then you have the second half of Daniel, which speaks about Nabonidus, all right, which is from Daniel 4 all the way up to about Daniel 9, and then Daniel 11, that's the breakdown of from Cyrus, from the Persian Empire all the way up until Yahushua returns, all the way up to the time we fell in 70 AD, and all the way up to, it speaks of Yahushua's return, going into Daniel chapter 12. And so I want to get into that, man. All right. So this is Ezekiel. All right. Ezekiel. Now, Ezekiel started prophesying around 320 BC. All right. Around 620 BC, Salaki, I said 320. But Ezekiel started prophesying around 620 BC. All right. So he was there to experience the fall of Babylon, man, and seen all the wickedness of our people when the Lord was warning our people, and when they came and took Daniel and them into captivity under Jehoiakim. And then you had Jehoiakim being established, and also you had Jehoiakim, that's what I meant to say, yeah, Jehoiakim. Under Jehoiakim, Daniel was taken into captivity around 606 BC. So he was there when you get to the book of Daniel chapter 1, that's around 605 BC, like a year or so later, in the first year of Nebuchadnezzar. All right. So Ezekiel he went later. All right, but he was there to see all the wickedness of our people around 605, 604, and 602 BC. That's what he's speaking of in the book of Ezekiel when he was getting those visions. So this is Ezekiel chapter 14, verse 14. It says, though these three men, Noah, Daniel, and Job, were in it, they should deliver but their own souls, all right, by their righteousness, saith Yahweh. All right, so even today, we're in this, the hopeful elect are in the spirit of Noah. I did a lesson on that a few weeks ago, dealing with this scripture right here. In the spirit of Noah, the name Noah means comfort or rest. All right, and the spirit, if it rests upon you, or you enter into the Lord's rest, which is this work, you're in the spirit of Noah, preparing for deliverance, preparing for a flood, but this time it's going to be fire, the second death, a judgment, time of judgment, and a deliverance from that judgment, and warning the people. That's the spirit Noah was in, all right, prophesying, and long suffering too, all right, and being holy, separating yourself from the society, all right, and being taken into the ark. And the spiritual ark is Yahushua now, this truth, the Holy Spirit, the Comforter. So, all right, so that's with Noah, but now with Daniel, he had to challenge the oppressor with the doctrine. He was taken up before councils, as the scriptures say, we have been and shall be. All right, when we out here prophesying, and some may take you before court or before a judge, like the apostles Tahar and up there in New York have been before the judge. All right, but you know, and Daniel had his faith was tested when they tried to offer him merchandise and riches. You know, with Belshazzar offering him all kind of money, and Nebuchadnezzar offering him riches as well, and he resisted their money. You know, he resisted all them, even their food, their abominable foods. He resisted all that and kept his integrity, and that's what we set up to do it today as well. And he was a true testament of faith by him being put into the lion's den and trusting Yahweh Bashim Haoshai and dealing in his dealings with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, you know, and the way he dealt with the rulers of those nations at that time, man. All right, he showed his faith, and he was delivered from Babylon all the way up to he lived all the way from the teaching from the time of Josiah, after Josiah, a little bit after Josiah, well, during Josiah, around 628, 620 BC with Daniel. All right, Daniel was teaching around 620 BC, all the way up until around 539, 538. All right, so he was alive all that long, man, around 80 years old when he was put into the lion's den. And he was a true testament of faith, man, when the Lord shut the lion's mouth. So that's what I want to get into, and let's start it off. All right. All right, this is Daniel. The name Daniel in the Hebrew, it would be Dan Allah. All right, Dan Allah, which means what? God is my judge, man. All right, Yahweh is my judge. So Dan Allah. So the Lord was the judge, is the judge of that situation, man. He was the judge in dealing with Nebuchadnezzar, you know, and Daniel. And he judged Daniel to wind up being president or ruler in Babylon, brought him up through his wisdom, through the blessing that the Lord gave him, through wisdom. All right. And Nebuchadnezzar was forced to make him a ruler over the provinces, man. And was about to literally put him over 120 provinces, you know. All right, now this is when Daniel and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they were all taken into Babylon. All right, Jehoiakim sold them out and was selling our people, man. And that's why the Lord had him be taken in chains as well. Jehoiakim, he was taken in chains around 598 BC, later on. Now it says Daniel 1:1. In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, all right, Jehoiakim started ruling around 609 BC. So the 3rd year from that would be 606. And that's right, that's the kickoff of the War of Carchemish. And that's when Nebuchadnezzar really started coming against Israel, man, all right, after he put a puppet ruler in place, Jehoiakim. Now in 606 BC, that's when this happened. It says, in the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem and besieged it. All right, so that's when he set up his siege against Israel. And they besieged it, and they were going against Israel ever since, all the way up till 586, man, when he really laid the siege in 598. After that, they, did a 3-year siege on Israel. All right. Now, where was that? Okay. Now it says, and the Lord gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hands with part of the vessels of the house of Yahweh, which he carried into the land of Shinar to the house of his God. And he brought the vessels into the treasure house of his God. All right, that's when they took all the treasure and the same treasures and vessels that, what's his name, Belshazzar was using in the party. All right, which Belshazzar was a grandson of Nebuchadnezzar. All right, a great grandson. Now Nebuchadnezzar, Salaki Belshazzar used the same treasures and vessels of Israel in their party that he was celebrating in 539 BC, October 539 BC, when they fell. Now it says, into the treasure house, Salaki, verse 2, and Yahweh gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand. So he was forced to do Nebuchadnezzar's will, man. All right. With part of the vessels of the house of Yahweh, which he carried into the land of Shinar to the house of his God. And he brought the vessels into the treasure house of his God. And the king spake unto Ashpenaz, the master of the eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel and of the king's seed and of the princes, children in whom was no blemish, but well favored, skillful in all wisdom, and cunning in knowledge and understanding, science, and such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans. So they wanted to get advisors, or what they call wise people, all right, of different nations, you know, and Israel was one of those nations. So they said they wanted the advisors or the nobles of our nation to be a part of theirs. And they taught them, they wanted to teach them the Chaldean tongue, the Babylonian tongue, you know, and that's just it, man. Force them into that wickedness. All right. So this is it says what, you know, and the king appointed them a daily provision of the king's meat and of the wine which he drank, so nourishing them 3 years, that at the end thereof they might stand before the king. So he was saying at the end of 3 years, he was going to evaluate these new slaves or new advisors that he was going to have. You know, like they were looking at us as enchanters, or you know, saying that the gods were with us, but the only gods is Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushai, you know, the Alahayim, the holy angels. So it says right here, and he said he gave them their abominable table. He probably had pork and all kind of shit that they had at the feast, and you know, provision of the Lord of what's his name, Nebuchadnezzar's food, and they were eating heathenistic foods, abominable foods, man. And so Daniel told him, say, hey, man, I'd rather eat pulse, and pulse is basically seeds or herbs, man. All right, the seeds of the herbs, and they ate that, and they were healthy and strong. Now it says, and so every 3 years they would be brought before the king, and he would evaluate them. Now among these were the children of Judah, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. All right, that's why you have in the Apocrypha the prayer of Azariah, when you had Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah thrown into the fiery furnace under Nebuchadnezzar. Now, when their faith was tested, I might do a lesson on that as well. You know, and they were Jakes, they were Israelites, so-called Negroes, Judah. You know, just like Daniel, Allah. But these were the Hebrew names. They were special, man. But of course, what's his name? Nebuchadnezzar, that heathen, he gave our people heathenistic names, just like Esau did. This is Deuteronomy 28:36. Yahweh shall bring thee and thy king, which thou shalt set over thee, unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known. All right? And that happened with Babylon, and it ultimately happened with Esau, because King David was over here in bondage as well. You know, so and back in reincarnation. Now, so they did the same thing. That's why this is the daughter of Babylon today, America. They did the same thing that the Babylonians did. All right, try to force their language on. They forced their language on us. Got to speak in English, what they call the King's English, or now they call it New Speak, to where it's basically speaking Babel and just letters. Everything is the letter program where you say ABC. I'm gonna go by the ABC liquor, CBC, CBS, CVS. Everything is prefixes. If you go to court, everything is prefixes. They could trap you with prefixes, man, and create some shit and just trap you with it. And that's what they call Newspeak. So that's why today we're basically speaking Babel. All right, they even got programs out called Babel, where it's a language program called Babel. So this is the daughter of Babylon, man. All right. So now it says, Yahweh shall bring thee and thy king, which thou shall set over thee, unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, and there thou shalt serve other gods, wood and stone, and thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb and a byword among all nations. And that's what we did. They called us by whatever names they wanted to call us. And over here in America, they call us Jigaboo, Spook, Boy, Toby, all kind of names, man. All right, now they call you just thugs and shit. Call us Africans, Canaanite. They call us everything, man. All right. So this same thing gonna happen to Esau in the kingdom and these nations. We're gonna place names upon them. Esau is a name that's given to them as well, man. Wasted away is he. All right, Edom. Or Esau red, Edom wasted away is he. All right. Now it says, and thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb and a byword among all nations, whither Yahweh shall lead thee. All right. And even among the Babylonians, we became whatever they wanted to call us, man. And that's why Daniel's name was changed, Hananiah's name was changed, and they gave him wicked, derogatory names, giving praise to their idol, damn statues and shit, man. Their wicked imaginations. All right, this is Hananiah, right? Hananiah or Hananiah. Hananiah, right? So that's what Hananiah, it means Yahweh has favored. So the Lord set him up to be favored, man. There's a nomen omen on his name. He was favored, highly favored, to where the Lord protected this man, Hananiah, from the fire and the flames, man. Deliverance. The same way the Lord promising to protect his elect, the ones he have favored today, from the fire, which is the what's it called, the flames or the nuclear missiles. He said the second death, shall have no power over you. Neither shall a hair on your head be touched, man. Just like the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, where their proper names was Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. All right. Now, Hananiah, Yahweh has favored. All right, let me get, just gonna give honor to them, man, because their names are the true testament of faith in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. And these heathens gave them derogatory names, but these are the true names. All right, Mayash Allah, and it means who is what God is, man, what power is. Shoo, spiritual man, a believer, faithful man. What's the next one? Azariah. All right. Azariah or Azariah. Azariah. All right. Azariah, which means Yahweh has helped. You see that? And he did help them from the fiery furnace under Nebuchadnezzar. Okay. Now it says this, Daniel 1:6. Now among these were the children of Judah, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. So they went into captivity under in Babylon, man, with Jehoiakim wicked ass, man. So these was righteous men. But the Lord said, even though if Daniel was there, even though if Noah was there, like in these times in America, which they are back here today. But the Lord was saying, if they're in that, if all these people in their times and their deliverances, they were the only ones that delivered, and set for deliverance out of those times. All the prophets, all the believers. And he's saying, even if Noah's there, even if Daniel's there, even if Job is there, and these are the stages that we have to go through, man, with Noah prophesying, stepping up to teach, believing, preparing, and Daniel being tested, battle tested, man, and teaching and faith with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, or Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. All right, and Daniel being tested with the lions, or tempted with death. And Job ultimately being tempted by the devil, tempted in poverty and faith by being broken and oppressed. All right, where he lost everything, and that's what we're coming up to, the time of Jacob's trouble, and that's a test that we're going to be in. All right, so I'm gonna get Daniel 1:7. Unto whom the princes of the eunuchs gave names, for he gave unto Daniel the name of Belshazzar. So Daniel was given a pagan name, man, Belshazzar, which means Baal, I think Baal something. All right, Belteshazzar. It's different than Belshazzar, and the Babylonian king. All right, which they have, it means something similar, but I'm gonna get it right here. This is it says Lord of the straightens treasures, but basically Belshazzar means Baal saved the king or something like that, man. All right, Lord of the straightens treasures, man. So it's basically Lord of flies, man. All right, called him Lord of the straightens treasures, the Lord of the heathen's treasures. Crazy. All right, I'm gonna read this, man, so you can get the real point of what they were trying to say, man. All right. Now it says Shadrach. All right, they gave Hananiah the name Shadrach, and Shadrach means command of Aku, man. In Akkadian, all right, it says in Akkadian. In the Old Testament, Shadrach is the Babylonian name of Hananiah, one of 3 men cast into a fiery furnace, but saved by Yahweh. So they called him after the moon deity, man, when they were worshiping the moon. All right. Now where was I? This is Meshach. All right. So we know what Hananiah, the pagan name that was given to him. All right. Or Chaldean name that was given to him, Akkadian name, and also the name that was given to Daniel, of Belteshazzar. And now this is Mishael, all right, and it says in Akkadian, Aku being the name of the Babylonian demon of the moon, basically, man. They were worshiping the moon, all right. In the book of Daniel in the Old Testament, this is the Babylonian name of Mishael, one of the 3 men cast into the blazing furnace, but saved from harm by the Most High Yahweh by Shem Shai. All right, so now it says Abednego. It says the meaning, it means servant of Nebo, and Nebo is basically Nana, which they worship the moon, all right, or the deity, the sun, the moon, and the stars, you know, and they worshipped also Nana, which would go back to Babel, the time of Babel, basically Nimrod. All right. It says in the Old Testament of Salak, it says it means servant of Nebo. In Akkadian, Nebo being the Babylonian god of wisdom, the demon of wisdom. It's crazy, man. In the Old Testament, Abednego is a Babylonian name given to Azariah, man. So it's a Babylonian name that was given to this brother, Israelite. All right, now it says Daniel chapter 1, verse 8. It says, but Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's meat. All right, so he said in his heart, said in his mind, what's that in Sirach chapter 2, verse 1, where it says, prepare thy soul for temptation. All right, and that's what Daniel was doing. He was a wise person. He was a wise man. He prepared his mind to be tempted, and he resisted the devil, resisted the deception. All right. He didn't sell off a filthy lucre. It says, but Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's meat. All right. So he didn't want to break the law, eating pork. You know, so they must have had some abominable foods up there, man. Probably crabs and lobster and different things like that. And, you know, we couldn't take part in that. All right. So defiled, it says himself with the portion of the king's meat, nor with the wine which he drank. All right. Therefore, he requested of the prince of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself. Now, Yahweh had brought Daniel into favor and tender love with the prince of the eunuchs. And the prince, basically, you know how Jake is, man. He got charisma, and that's why he calls the salt of the earth. All right. So basically, was pulling the dude's leg. You know how Jake is, man. Now it says, and the prince of the eunuchs said unto Daniel, all right. So the prince of the eunuchs was basically having mercy on Daniel. It says, I fear my lord the king, who have appointed your meat and your drink. So he was in fear of Nebuchadnezzar. It says, who have appointed your meat and your drink, for why should he see your faces worse liking than the children which are of your sort? Then shall you make me endanger my head to the king. Like in this society, you had the police, they think they're doing you a favor, you know, or the FDA, whoever works for the FDA with the GMOs and shit, or they putting pork in your foods, you know. So in that time, he was saying, hey, man, if you don't eat this pork, if you don't eat this food, you're going to be out of shape. You're going to get skinny. All right. Which is not so, man. You know, you get worms from pork, you get disease, all kind of diseases and diabetic diseases, man, different levels of diabetes, you know, blood disorders. All right. So, but if you're eating herbs, or if you're eating the seeds of the herbs, right, like chia seeds or flax seeds or sunflower seeds or pumpkin seeds, or, you know, different other type of seeds that they have. And a lot of them have protein. A lot of them have vitamins in it, different vitamins. All right. Vitamin E, B12, all these different things, especially eating it in this, as a seed, you know, and, you know. So anyway, verse 10, it says, and the princes of the eunuch, verse 11, then said Daniel to Melzar, whom the prince of the eunuchs had set over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, prove prove thy servants, I beseech thee. 10 days. All right, so 10 days. You know, a little bit more than a week. Almost a week and a half. Let them give us pulse to eat and water to drink. All right, and he didn't want to eat, drink the wine either. You know, the wine, you know, that shows the spirit or mindset of celebration. You know, of celebrating. Right now, and the scriptures say, man, it's better to go into the house of mourning than to the house of mirth with these heathens, celebrating with these heathens, man. You know, so he didn't want to do that. And he didn't want to be drunken with the heathen or eat their abominable foods, man. So instead, he chose what? Water, which is good for you as long as it's cleaned, and zerai, which is something sown, a vegetable. All right, so a seed, it was grains, seeds, or it was the vegetable itself. All right, vegetables as sown, something put into the ground. All right, so we say eat your medicine. All right, you're supposed to eat medicine, eat vegetables. You know, I think I heard the apostle talking about that the other day. That's crazy, but that's the spirit. But something sown only in the plural, so a bunch of seeds. All right, a vegetable as food, man. So eating veggies, so eating vegetables, seeds, and grains or whatever, and that's what they was eating. You know, so it was a vegetable. It wasn't grains; it was vegetables. Being specific. All right. So that's like today. If you eat vegetables, you'll be healthy. All right. You know, the body comes from the ground, and if we give it herbs, it replaces all the fatty acids that we lose throughout the day. The zinc. You know, the fatty acids are basically vitamins. You know, you need to replace vitamin D, which acts as an engine or engineer to tell the body what to do or where the fatty acids, how to operate in the body. All these things got to be replaced as you burn them off. Right? And that's what Daniel was wise, man. He was very wise. And the people that were with him were wise, man. And that's what the Lord is looking for today. People in that same spirit. You know, instead of entering into the house of mirth, going to the house of mourning with Yahweh Bashim Yahushua and being in long suffering. Now it says, so he's consented to them in this matter and proved them 10 days. All right. And at the end of 10 days, their countenances appeared fairer and fatter. So they were healthier, man. And in flesh than all the children which did eat the portion of the king's meat. Thus Melzar took away the portion of their meat and the wine that they should drink and gave them pulse, man. The Lord set that up. That was all the Most High is doing, man. You know, keeping them healthy. By doing the right thing, by following the Lord's ways is beneficial unto us. But turning away from his ways is death, period. You know, in all senses of the word, physical and spiritual. We keep his laws, keep his the food laws as well. You know, and stay away from these abominable foods. You're going to be healthy. You stay away from the abominable doctrines and false wine and false doctrines, then you'll be healthy spiritually as well. All right. So it says, verse 17, as for these four, Yahweh gave them knowledge and skill. And that's today he's given to the elect knowledge of the laws and, you know, knowledge of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua's, you know, will. All right. Knowledge in the earth as well. It says, and skill in all learning. So having the ability and skills and tools and instruments to learn. All right, skilled in learning, man. And wisdom, skilled in all learning and wisdom. And wisdom comes from Yahweh Shem Yahushua. And Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams. All right. So the Lord blessed him with that gift to have to be able to interpret visions and dreams. He's setting him up for what was about to happen with Nebuchadnezzar and later on Belshazzar. All right, verse 18. Now at the end of the days that the king had said he should bring them in, then the prince of the eunuchs brought them in before Nebuchadnezzar. And the king communed with them, and among them all was found none like Daniel. So just like today, you know, among this whole world, and even among the Israelites, there's none like the elect. There's none like the 130. All right, there was none like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, and that's their correct names, you know. But you want to translate into the Hebrew. Therefore stood they before the king in all matters of wisdom and understanding, that the king inquired of them. He found them 10 times better than all the magicians, which was Chaldeans, all right, and astrologers, basically tarot card readers, and the motherfuckers that think they could read the stars, you know, astrologers and shit, and that were in all his realm. So anywhere he looked, in all his realm, it was written in their chronicles, in the chronicles of Nebuchadnezzar, right? That Daniel was more excellent than any man in his kingdom, and he was also had a perfect spirit. That's what he said. So the Lord forced these heathens to acknowledge that, man, and that's what he's going to do with Esau, the so-called white man. They're not acknowledging who the children of Israel are, but someday the Lord is going to manifest and make all this happen, man. Lift up the children of Israel in the midst of the heathens. All right, so verse 21. And Daniel continued until the first year of King Cyrus, man. So he continued all the way till 539. All right, the first year of Cyrus. So he started teaching around 620 and then get all the way up to 539. And that's the proof right there. And the Lord had Daniel last through all of those kings, man. From a little bit of Nebuchadnezzar, and then you had Nebuchadnezzar, then you had Neriglissar, then you had Amel Marduk, then you had Nebuchadnezzar, and Belshazzar, his prince, his son. And Daniel was around to see the fall of Babylon, and also, you know, the calling home, you know, of the children of Israel when Cyrus took power. All right, and he saw Darius take power as well. And I want to get into that lesson too, Yahweh Ratazah. All right, I'm ended with this, you know, Luke 21:10. Then said he unto them, nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. You know, that happened 2,000 years ago, and a reflection of that is going to happen today. All right, nations are rising against kingdom. Nations are rising against other nations. Look at Venezuela, America, Russia, China, Brazil, going at saying that they can take all of Venezuela if they want to, all of South America. Who else? You know, Iran going at Israel and America, Syria, and you know, these Arabian countries. All right, everybody going at each other. Verse 11, and great earthquakes shall be in diverse places, and famines and pestilence, and fearful sights, and great signs shall there be from heaven. All right, and these are the things we're supposed to look for the deliverance, and for the Lord to have his men, you know, be lifted up, exalted by giving them wisdom. And anytime he gives that wisdom, he lifts up the children of Israel. And we in the last time to where he's going to lift up his hopeful elect for eternity, right? And the 1/3 and the 2/3 later. Now it says, in fearful sights and great signs shall there be from heaven. But before all these, they shall lay their hands on you and persecute you and delivering you up to the synagogues. They did that 2,000 years ago. The Lord said, touch none of my anointed. They're going to be some martyrs, you know, but the focus is that most are going to be delivered and some may be martyrs, all right? But that happened 2,000 years ago, where they would deliver up to the synagogues. And today it would be the courthouses or, you know, that's really it, the courthouses. All right. So that was mainly 2 years ago where they delivered all the prophets up and slaughtered them, man. You know, most of them was killed around up to 70 AD. All right. The last one being John the Revelator, a little after 70 AD. All right. Now, so it says, and into prisons being brought before kings and rulers for my name's sake. And that's a beautiful thing to be brought before anybody for Yahweh Shem Yahushua's sake. And it shall turn to you for a testimony. And that was our testimony 2,000 years ago. And it's written, things that are written aforetime are written for our learning. All right, I'm going to read that as well. It says, for I will settle it, therefore, all right, it says, verse 14, settle it therefore in your hearts, not to meditate before what ye shall answer. You know, and that's what we're doing, settling everything in our heart and in our spirit, digesting the whole word, setting our feet aright, you know, towards the path of the kingdom, on the path of the kingdom, and preparing our heart and our mind for temptation, man. Temptation is a time of affliction, of you know, tempting you to sin. Or to give up, or to flee, or fear, man. And we're going to resist all the temptation. All right. It says, for I will give you a mouth and wisdom. And that's what the Lord gave to Daniel. He gave him a mouth and the wisdom, you know, and understanding of visions. And he gave him the proper time, age, and voice to speak it. All right. And it says, for I will give you a mouth and wisdom, which all your adversaries shall not be able to gainsay nor resist, man. All right. So in these times, these nations try to resist it, but they can't. They can't. They try to upset the prophecies. They try to lie and say you're not an Israelite. You know, if you tell them you're an Israelite, they try to come at you and say you're not. But they can resist all they want, but it's hard to kick against the pricks. They're doing nothing but destroying themselves and proving that they're the wicked. So they're not resisting anything. They're not resisting the will of the Father. The will of the Father is for them to show that they're the wicked, and that's how they do it, by their actions and the words they speak. Now, this is the reason I went to the story of Noah before, and also Jeremiah the other day, the deliverance of Jeremiah, and now the deliverance of Daniel, and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, when they showed proof that Yahweh Shem Yahushua's way will cause us to be healed as a nation and as individuals. All right. Now, I'll probably go into the one that got put into the fire later, but I'm just focusing on this right now. This is Romans 15:4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime, that way it says it's going to be a testimony unto you, you know, were written for our learning. All right, so written for our learning today, to share in that wisdom and give us faith, so we can be blessed, you know, in reading and eating the word, man, digesting it and remembering, bringing everything to remembrance. All right. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience, All right, and comfort of the scriptures might have hope, man. And that's what Daniel was in, hope, spirit of hope. Noah was in the spirit of patience, comfort, which his name means, and hope. Daniel was in the spirit of patience, right? Long suffering, right? And enduring, comfort, and hope for salvation and deliverance. And the same thing with Jeremiah, and the same thing with Ezekiel, and the same thing with Baruch and Habakkuk, and the same thing with all the prophets, man. But the focus is and also Job. All right, faith, patience, comfort, and of the scriptures, we might have hope, man. So through the Lord's instruments, through the Lord's wisdom, through the Lord's comfort of his scriptures, because that's what the scriptures are, the comforter, the Holy Spirit, man, the comfort of the scriptures. All right, that's the Holy Spirit. And when we fell, the scriptures say we had no comforter. We lost that comfort. We lost all wisdom. We lost our way. We were cut off. But now the scriptures have been given back to us. All right. Now we've been given that hope again, the hope of salvation. All right. This is 2nd Ezra 15:1. Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy. And that's what we're all sent to do. Being the spirit of and reincarnated spirits of prophets upon this earth in the time of judgment, in the time of warning, in the time of prophecy. Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy. So we're supposed to read and go speak it to the people. So that's what times we in. Blessed is he that readeth and he that heareth the words of this prophecy, because the time is at hand. All right, that lets you know what age and time that we're in. It says, and cause them, which I will put in thy mouth, man, saith Yahweh, making us the mouth of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua, speaking his word, his vibration, his heart, La'ab, his mind. And cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true, man. So everything that happened in the past and history and the stories about the prophets and how they were delivered, all right, and the ancient kings and believers in Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua, how we were delivered. And now it's written in paper for us to read it, all right? And as we read it, we eat in the roll, which means consuming the roll, and we warn others as well, all right? And edify, building the house of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua. Now, verse 3, it says what? By reading, we gain faith and hope and patience and comfort. Reading about the testimonies and testaments of our people in the past. Fear not the imaginations against thee. Let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee. For all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness, man. Behold, saith Yahweh, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, the famine, death, and destruction. For wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. Therefore, saith Yahweh. So now Esau's Nebuchadnezzar, their hurtful works were fulfilled when the Lord sent in Cyrus the Great with the Persians and the Medes. And then once their hurtful works or wicked works were fulfilled, the Lord sent in Alexander the Great, spoken of in the book of Daniel, chapter 11. All right. And then after him, and also in the book of Maccabees chapter 1, now after Alexander's hurtful works, you still had Esau ruling as a nation under the Diadochi, the Greeks, the pagan Greeks, which later became the Roman Empire under Julius Caesar after the triumvirate, and then going on to Rome, and Rome, them damn Edomites of the Western Roman Empire showing back up around the 1400s, all right, for all just to enslave the children of Israel later, but they're going into perdition, all right, because at the end of days, righteousness is going to rule on this earth, and they're showing and living out their journey and acting out the works of the wicked. That's what Esau is doing in 2/3 of our people and these heathens. So after Esau has fulfilled their hurtful works, right? They fulfilled their hurtful works against the children of Israel and against Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. And that's how wickedness has exceedingly polluted the whole earth. The earth was given into their hands, and now the Lord's going to remove them. You see that? The Lord going to bring plagues upon the world: sword, famine, death, and destruction. All right. So that's why we look to the scriptures and the ways of old, and the stories and the testimonies of the ancient prophets, nobles, and kings of our nation. All right, it gives us strength today to know that that same Creator is alive and living and present, and dealing with us again, man, and promising to protect us from what's coming.